Bonjour, bienvenue dans le cours de français. Hello everyone and welcome to the French class. For those of you who are joining for the first time, I am Anika Seth and I am an educator on Unacademy for French CBSE grade 9 and 10. So in today's session, we would be doing the topic le discours rapporté, which is the reported speech. So but before we begin with the topic, le discours direct and direct is what we will be discussing today. So yes, before we begin with the topic, this topic, as you know, that we are already on with our live classes in our plus courses. So we have covered this topic and a lot many other practice questions and the topics based on this. So if you haven't subscribed to the Unacademy Plus course as of now, I would highly recommend that you just go to the Unacademy Learning app and go to the subscription, choose the subscription of your choice, and also you would be able to prepare in a better way, in a more organized and regular way, with all the classes which are happening as per the schedule of the live classes. So you would be able to attend the live classes, you would be able to have the doubt solving sessions which are there, then there are weekly tests series, quizzes, lots of worksheets, exercises, extra questions, and all of these things. So in today's class, we would be doing le discours rapporté, which is the reported speech. So let's start with the topic of le discours rapporté. Okay, over here, first of all, what is le discours rapporté? What is discours rapporté? Discours rapporté means the reported speech. Now, reported speech can be a direct reported speech or it can be an indirect reported speech, right? So, when we are repeating the words of a person, maybe we are quoting the words or we are saying it from our own point of view, that is the reported speech. So, when we just quote the words of a person directly as it is what he or she has said, then it is a direct speech. But when we are telling something from our point of view, then it is the indirect form of speech, right? So, one by one, we will see that how the reported speech is of different types: direct speech, indirect speech, then in what cases we are converting, like how we are converting the direct speech form to the indirect and vice versa. So, as you can see over here, le discours rapporté, three types of reported speech. One is direct, one is indirect, and the third one is le discours rapporté libre. Libre means it is a free form of speech where we are just interpreting the information what one has said. So we are neither quoting the words of the person nor we are we are not quoting the words of the person, and also we are not reporting it to anyone from our point of view. We are just interpreting the information what the person has said. Okay, so one by one, let's start with this one. First, le discours rapporté direct. Le discours rapporté direct. So over here, the direct speech is when we are repeating the words of the person what one has said. So for example, il me demande où habites-tu? Il me demande où habites-tu? So this question as it is, où habites-tu? I am saying that he is asking me, he asks me, where do you live? Now, where do you live? In the exact form how the question has been asked, I have put the question in the form of the direct speech. So he is asking me, or he asks me, where do you live? So this where do you live part is the question what the person is asking me, which I have quoted here as it is. So like this you can see the quotation marks over here. Like in English also we use the quotation marks to report the direct speech, right? So like we see the newspaper reports and all, some part of the report, if it is an interview, that part is reported in the direct form, in the direct speech, and some information which the reporter is telling from his or her point of view comes in the form of the indirect speech, right? So whatever is the direct form of speech is with the quotation marks, because these are the words of the person, how exactly he or she has said these, right? So over here, il me demande où habites-tu, that he is asking me, where do you live? So where do you live are the exact words, the question of the person. Then next one is ma fille dit je vais être médecin. Ma fille dit je vais être médecin. Means my daughter says I will be a doctor. So I will be a doctor are the precise words, are the exact words what the daughter is saying. That je vais être médecin, I will be a doctor. So this sentence I am reporting, but in the form of the direct speech, because I am just quoting the words of what my daughter is saying. So she says that I will be a doctor. Je vais être médecin. Then next one is mon fils dit, my son says, moi je veux être prof. Moi je veux être prof. So me, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher. So my son says, I want to be a teacher. So again, I am quoting the exact words of the son, that I want to be a teacher. The daughter says that I will be a doctor. Son is saying that I want to be a teacher. So all these words which are reported over here, which are in the quotation marks, are the exact words of what the person has said. Are the exact words what the person has said. So maybe it is a question like où habites-tu? It is a statement, je vais être médecin. It is another statement over here, the third sentence, je veux être prof. So these all are the words of the person, how he or she has said it, right? So over here in the direct form of speech, we are just reporting the words, we are repeating the exact words of the person, of the original speaker, and we are quoting those words how he or she has said it. So it can be a question, it can be a statement, it can be a remark, but over here we are just quoting the words of the person. Then next, we come to the indirect form of speech. So indirect form of speech is when we change the subject pronoun, we change the verb to report what has been said. In the indirect form of speech, we are telling something, we are reporting something from our own point of view. So if in the previous one this sentence was Il me demande où habites-tu, where do you live? Now if I'm telling this to someone else, I'm telling this to you, that he is asking me, he asks, where do you live? Is the question what the person has already asked from me. Now, if I have to report it from my own point of view, I will say that he is asking me, where do I live? Where do I live? That means the subject pronoun has changed from you to I. Where do you live? Where do I live? So, like the same thing what we do in English also, when we are reporting the speech, we are reporting what one person has said, we use the subject pronoun. In this one, it was second person because he is asking me, where do you live? So, it is second person. But when I am telling this from my point of view, I will say, Il me demande où j'habite. So now this is the first person because he is asking me, where do I live? Okay. Then with the subject pronoun, the conjugation of the verb also changes. So with tu, it is habite ending with s. But with je, it is habite ending with e. So the conjugation of the verb also changes with the subject pronoun. Il me demande où habites-tu? Il me demande où j'habite. So this first thing is to change the subject pronoun because it cannot remain the same. We are now reporting from first person point of view, not from the point of view of what has been exactly said by the person. So tu changes to je, habite changes to habite with e, not with s, because the conjugation of er verb habite with je ends with e. Then is ma fille dit. What did the daughter say? I will be a doctor. The daughter says, I will be a doctor. Now, if I'm telling this to you that the daughter says, what will this I change to then? What will I change to? The subject pronoun je will change to what? So, those who are there in the live chat can also side by side answer the questions. Like, if in the direct form of speech, I'm saying that my daughter says, I want to be a doctor or I will be a doctor. In the indirect speech, what would be the form of the sentence which we will use? What will be the subject pronoun? Over here, my daughter is saying something, so it is in the first person that I will be a doctor. But now, if I'm telling you about my daughter, that what is she saying, I will use the which form? I will use the third person to talk about her because now I am talking to you about my daughter, so she becomes the third person, right? So when it is I want to be a doctor, here we will say ma fille dit qu'elle va être médecin. Ma fille dit qu'elle va être médecin. That she will be a doctor. So first thing what we do over here is to add this que. To add another clause in the sentence, we add this que. This was a question, so we did not add que. Here it is a statement, so we add que to show that it is a sentence. So my daughter is saying that, que means that she will be a doctor. My daughter is saying that she will be a doctor. Then next one, mon fils dit, the son says, moi je veux être prof. Moi je veux être prof. So me, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher. Now, this is the first person form where the son is saying that I want to be a teacher. But what will be the reported speech in the indirect way? Now, again, if I'm talking to you about my son, that my son says that he wants to be a teacher. My son says that he wants to be a teacher. So, he wants to be, that means again, this je will change to third person because now I am talking about my son. So he becomes the third person in the sentence, right? Mon fils dit qu'il veut être prof. My son says that he wants to be a teacher. So il veut être prof. He wants to be a teacher. So over here, the difference between the direct and the indirect speech is that in the direct one, we are only quoting the words of the person, how he or she has said it in exactly the same way. Okay, so we are repeating the words, we are quoting the words of the person in exactly the same way as it has been said. So, whether it is a question, whether it is a statement, whether it is a remark, or anything in the how, in the way it has been said, the structure of the sentence, the subject pronoun, uabityu, je, vetra, metsa. So, whatever is the form of the sentence that has been said. That is the direct speech where this part of the sentence, I mean, this part of the speech is put in the inverted commas in English and over here in these quotation marks, which are the guillemets. So, this is put in these quotation marks to show that these are the exact words what the person has said, that the original speaker has said. Whereas in the indirect form of the speech, we change the subject pronoun to report what one has said. So, because over here we are reporting from our own point of view what the person has said. That is why, when in the first one we said that ilma de monde ou habitiu, over here changes to ilma de monde ou j'habite, because now I'm talking about myself. That he's asking me that where do I live? He's asking me where do you live? He's asking me where do I live? Then my daughter says I will be a doctor. So she says, so that means she is in the first person, je vais être médecin. But now if I am talking about my daughter, she will become the third person over here. That means je will change to elle. Elle va être médecin. She will be a doctor. Then is mon fils dit, moi je veux être prof. So je veux être prof, again mon fils is in the first person. That is why he is saying that I want to be a teacher. But in the reported form, in the indirect speech, he says that he wants to be a teacher. So he wants to be because now my daughter, my son has become the third person. So this is reporting what someone has said from your own point of view in the indirect way. So what all happens in the indirect speech is, in the indirect speech, the following changes are there. There is a reporting verb. Reporting verb means like the mon, they, the over here also. So these verbs were already given. Then there has to be a subordinate clause. Subordinate clause means where this ka is added. So this was a question That's why we are not adding k over here, but here Mafi di kelva etru metsa kilva etru prof, k is to be added as a subordinate clause. Then the subject pronoun in the subordinate clause has to change. The subject pronoun in the subordinate clause has to change. So that means, like here, from tu we changed it to je, from je we changed it to l, and again from je we changed it to il. So for the third thing is that the subject pronoun in the subordinate clause has to change along with the verb conjugation. So the conjugation of the verb also has to change. Like here, u abit tu, u jabit. El va metsa, sorry, je vais metsa, elle va metsa. Je veux être prof, il veut être prof. So the subject pronoun as well as the conjugation has to change in the indirect form of speech. So these four things, reporting verb, subordinate clause, subject pronoun, and the verb conjugation need to change in the indirect speech when we are converting from direct to indirect. Okay. Now the third form of speech which is there is le discours rapporté libre. Discours rapporté libre means here we interpret the information what someone is saying. So it is not always possible to interpret in some other way, but like the first example which we did, where it was Il me demande où habites-tu? So he asked me where do you live? He's asking me where do I live? So in the interpretation of this information, I can say that he wants to know my address. So that's why he's asking where do you live? So although this information is not totally accurate because we are interpreting the information based on our understanding. Yes, so it may or may not be true because what we could understand out of it, we are interpreting the information based on that, our perspective, our thinking, and from our point of view. So neither these words the person has said that he wants to know my address, or even I am not reporting it to someone, I am just interpreting the information to say that he wants to know my address. He wants to know my address. So the three forms what we have discussed: direct, indirect, and libre. Direct one, we are quoting the words of the speaker. Indirect, we are reporting what the speaker has said from our point of view. And libre, we are interpreting the information what the speaker has said. So this is not very commonly used because if we use this form, we are just interpreting, and according to our own thought process, we are uh, reporting the information. So the most commonly used is the direct speech and the indirect speech. Now, in the indirect speech, as we did that, there has to be a reporting verb also. There has to be a reporting verb, which over here was the month, the, but there are other verbs also which can be used to report what the person is saying. So, the indirect speech requires a reporting verb to take the place of the quotation marks used in the direct speech. The reporting verb must also be followed by the subordinating conjunction ke or si with what the speaker has said in the subordinate clause. The most common verb is dir, but there are many other verbs also which can be used to report the speech. So one of first one is affirme, means these are some of the verbs. There could be more also. There are so many verbs. So but like the frequently used ones or what we can use to tell that what the person is saying. So first one, the verb is affirmer, means to assert, to emphasize something. Affirmer means to assert or to emphasize something. Then is verb ajouter. Ajouter means to add. So these all depend on the context, that which verb we are using. Most commonly used verb is dir, but it all depends on the context, that which verb we are using. Right? So one is affirmer, then is ajouter, then is annonce, means to announce, crier means to shout, déclarer to declare, dire to say, répondre to answer, soutenir to maintain, proclamer to proclaim, prétendre to claim, insister to insist, and expliquer to explain. So these all verbs also we can use in the indirect speech, in the reported speech, in the indirect way, apart from verb dir, right? Yeah, so as we said that there has to be a reporting verb. So it could be the monde if it is a question, it could be dir if it is a statement, it could be affirme also. So again, it depends, all depends on the context. So affirme is like to emphasize something, to assert something. Then ajute, if you are talking in a context that this person is saying this thing and he adds to it something else. So instead of repeating the verb ajute, we can use repeating the verb dir, we can use the verb ajute, means he adds this and this. Then verb annonce. So it is if it is an announcement, instead of saying dir, we say il annonce, el annonce. Crier, déclarer, dire, répondre, to answer. So if here this was a question, où habites-tu? Je réponds, to answer. So instead of again saying dire, we can say répondre. Then soutenir, to maintain, proclamer, prétendre, insister, expliquer. So expliquer, to explain also, like ajouter, we can use the word expliquer if we are talking about what the person has said and then he further explains, or whatever is the context in which we are using the verb. Now from direct speech to indirect speech, changing from direct to indirect speech. So first one is here direct speech. Helen dit, j'espère étudier à Paris. J'espère étudier à Paris. Helen says that I hope to study in Paris. So this is what she's saying. J'espère étudier à Paris. I hope to study in Paris. Now this is the direct form of speech what she is saying. But if I have to report this speech in the indirect way, so if I'm telling you that Helen says that she hopes to study in Paris. Helen says, I hope to study in Paris. Helen says that she hopes to study in Paris. So, like the same way how we are converting from direct to indirect in English also, we are changing the subject pronoun from I to she. I hope to study, she hopes to study in Paris. So then this je will change to L. Que will be added first to introduce the subordinate clause, and then the subject pronoun je would change to L. Je would change to L. Espère is an ER verb, so with je and L, the conjugation of the verb is the same, it's not changing. So only over here, what we have done, we have added this que, we have changed the subject pronoun from je to L. because here she was saying j'espère étudier, I hope to study, but in the indirect speech, we would say that she hopes to study in Paris. Also, when the subject changes over here, the conjugation of the verb is not changing because, as I said, espere is an ER verb. But if there is any other verb for which the conjugation is changing with the subject pronoun, we have to take care of that we change the conjugation as well in the indirect speech. Like, Lisa remarque, j'ai faim. Lisa remarque, j'ai faim. So, Lisa is saying, she comments that I am hungry. I am hungry. When we change this to the indirect speech, I would say that Lisa is saying or remarks or comments that she is hungry. She is hungry. So, one thing I have changed the subject pronoun to from I to she. Next thing I have changed the verb from I am to she is, because we cannot keep the verb same. We cannot say that she am hungry. So when in English the verb is changing, in French also the verb has to change. She is hungry. Okay. So j'ai faim will change to elle a faim. Elle a faim. She is hungry because avoir faim is the expression to be used. Avoir faim is the expression to be used with to be hungry, to be thirsty, to be sleepy, to be afraid. So j'ai faim changes to elle a faim. I am hungry. She is hungry. Then, if there is a possessive adjective used in the sentence or any other expression of possession, if there is a possessive adjective or any other expression of possession used in the sentence, that also has to change. Example, Thomas dit, j'ai mon livre. Thomas says, I have my book. So, I have my book. My is the possessive adjective which we are using in the sentence because Thomas is saying, I have my book. So, my is the possessive adjective for Thomas, what he is saying. Then, in the indirect speech, when we change this, I would use Thomas dit qu'il a son livre. Thomas says that he has his book. He has his book. Thomas says, I have my book. Thomas says that he has his book. So in English also the possessive adjective my is changing to his. I have my book. He has his book. So like in English we are changing the subject pronoun from I to he. We are changing the conjugation of the verb from have to has. Also, we are changing the possessive adjective from my to his. I have my book, he has his book. So over here, Thomas dit j'ai mon livre. Mon is the possessive adjective. When we change the subject pronoun from je to il, possessive adjective also has to change from mon to son. Mon livre, son livre. So with il, the possessive adjectives which are there, son, sa, se, livre is masculine, so mon will change to son. That is why j'ai mon livre changes to il a son livre. So over here, j'espère étudier à Paris, elle espère étudier à Paris. Over here, only the subject pronoun was changing, not the conjugation of the verb because it was an ER verb. Then in the next one, the subject pronoun also changed from je to elle, and the conjugation of the verb also changed from je to elle, a, right? Then in the possessive adjective, if there is a possessive adjective, then we will change that possessive adjective also, because we have changed the subject pronoun. So that also needs to change. Okay. Now this was about the indirect speech changing from direct to indirect in the present tense, because if you see this verb, the over here, remark over here, the mon, all these verbs are in the present tense. But now, what if the indirect speech is in the past tense? If the indirect speech is in the past tense. So instead of saying that Helen says or Thomas says, if I'm saying Helen said, Thomas said. So, like in English, when I'm changing say to said, it is becoming the past tense. Same way over here also, if we are reporting the speech in the past tense, means the reporting verb, the month, these verbs are in the past tense. So how do we change those types of sentences? Right? So that is what we are seeing over here. When we are relating the speech indirectly with the verb, the reporting verb in the present tense, the verb tense is not changed. It is only the conjugation of the verb that is changed with the subject pronoun. But if the verb in the subordinate clause is, if the verb in the reporting verb is changing to the past tense, then the verb in the subordinate clause also has to change in some cases. Also has to change in some cases. So, over here, if it is Adi, A agree, A demonde, all these verbs, if the reporting verb is in the past tense, then the verb in the reporting in the subordinate clause will also be affected in some cases. Right? So if the verb in subordinate clause is in the imperfect, past perfect, conditional, conditional perfect, the verb tense remains the same throughout the conjugation. Right? So only the conjugation has to change, not the tense of the verb. Like, Mari adi j'avais froid. Mari said, I was feeling cold. J'avais froid, I was feeling cold. But now over here, Mari adi, it is not Mari di. Mari says that I am feeling cold. No. Mari said that I was feeling cold. So what we are reporting, the reporting verb is in the past tense. Mari adi ka, so add ka to introduce the subordinate clause. Je will change to elle, quel, avait, frua. So ave here with L, the conjugation of the verb is changing with AIT, but not the tense of the verb. If in the direct speech it was in the imparfait, here also it is in the imparfait. Maria dit qu'elle avait froid. Then Paul a écrit j'aimerais y aller. J'aimerais is in the which tense? Conditional present tense. J'aimerais is in the conditional present tense. So when we change this to the indirect form of the reported speech, Paul a écrit que, first of all introduce que, then the subject pronoun will change from je to il, then the conjugation of the verb will change from aimerait, AIS will change to AIT, and E ale. Rest of the sentence is the same. E ale. So what we have done over here, we have changed the subject pronoun, we have changed the conjugation of the verb, but we have not changed the tense of the verb. If the verb um, was in the conditional, here also it is in the conditional. If the verb was in imparfait, here also the verb is in imparfait. So here nothing has changed. right? Here, the reporting verb was in the present tense. Thomas D. Lisa remark. Here it is Adi. This reporting verb has gone in the past tense. Adi. J'avais froid, elle avait froid. J'aimerais y aller, il aimerait y aller. Okay, now let's look at the other things. If the verbs are in the other tenses, if the subordinate verb is in the present tense, passé composé, future simple, antérieur, then the verb tense in the indirect speech, that means in the subordinate clause, has to change. So if it is the present tense which is given in the direct speech, that will change to am parfait. So for example, over here, if this was the present tense, for example, j'ai froid. In the reported speech, indirect reported speech, it will change to am parfait. So elle avait froid. Here it was am parfait, so am parfait remains the same. That will not change. But if it is in the present tense like j'ai froid, then it will change to the am parfait, elle avait froid, right? Then is passé composé if the verb is in the passé composé. So instead of this j'avais froid, if it was j'ai eu froid, or here like it was j'aimerais y aller, so j'ai aimé y aller. If this verb in the direct speech is in the passé composé, then the verb in the indirect speech will change to pluske parfait. Will change to pluske parfait. Present tense changes to imparfait. Passé composé changes to pluske parfait. Then if it is future simple, so let's take this sentence only. J'aime, j'aimerais y aller, so there is no s and only ai. If it is the future simple, then future simple would change to the conditional present tense. Future simple would change to the conditional present tense. Means j'aimerais y aller, if it is future simple, then il aimerait y aller, this is the conditional present tense. Now over here it was already the conditional, so it did not change. But if it is the future simple, that will change to the conditional present tense. J'aimerais y aller, il aimerait y aller. Similarly, if it is antérieur, future antérieur, j'aurais aimé y aller would change to the conditionnel passé. Aurait aimé, conditionnel passé. If it is passé récent, next case, if it is passé récent, then venir verb, because passé récent is what? Venir the plus the infinitive form of the verb. So verb venir will change to imparfait plus the infinitive form of the verb. Why it will change to imparfait? Because the conjugation of passé récent is venir the plus infinitive, where verb venir is conjugated in the present tense. And right now we have seen that present tense will change to imparfait. That is why verb venir has changed to imparfait plus the infinitive form of the verb. So if in a sentence this verb is in the passé récent, the reported verb in the subordinate clause, means the verb in the subordinate clause, would be venir imparfait plus the infinitive form of the verb. Then if it is future proche is formed by taking verb aller in the present tense plus the infinitive form of the verb. Now verb aller in the present tense would change to verb aller in the imparfait plus the infinitive form of the verb. So here verb aller would be imparfait plus infinitive of the verb which was placed in the after verb aller, the main verb of the sentence. So these are all the cases where we change from direct to indirect speech All these changes in the conjugation in the tenses of the verb are done only when the reporting verb is in the past tense. So, like over here, even if it is present tense over here, j'ai mon livre, this will not change to imparfait because the reporting verb is in the present tense. We have to first see the reporting verb whether it is present or past. Accordingly, we will make the changes in the subordinate clause. So, subject pronoun for sure will change. Conjugation of the verb, if required, will change. Like for ER verbs, joy and L have the same conjugation. So, if required, will change. And the tense of the verb will only change when the reporting verb is in the past tense. So, if it is direct speech, present tense, indirect speech would be imparfait. If passé composé is given in the direct speech, indirect would change to plus que parfait. Future simple is used in the direct speech, it will change to conditional present tense. If it is future antérieur, it will change to conditional passé. If it is passé récent, will change to venir de plus infinitive, where verb venir will be in the imparfait because it was conjugated in the present tense. Then is future proche, aller plus infinitive, verb aller was conjugated in the present tense. So here verb aller would change to the imparfait, right? So over here, all these cases where the verb is changing is when the reporting verb is in the past tense, not in the present tense. In the present tense, what is changing is the subject pronoun as well as the conjugation wherever it is required. Right. Now, the examples over here. Anna Adi, Anna Adi, je dois partir à midi. Je dois partir à midi. Now see the first verb over here. The reporting verb is a di. That means Anna said. It is not says. It is Anna said. That means now we know that if it is in the past tense, we need to change the conjugation of the verb. We need to change the tense of the verb also if it is required. So what Anna said? Je dois partir à midi. I have to leave at noon. When we are changing this to the indirect speech, Anna a dit qu'elle devait partir à midi. So, que is introduced in the sentence. Subject pronoun is changed to third person because now what Anna said becomes the third person. Qu'elle. Dua is the verb in the present tense, conjugated in the present tense. So Anna said, I have to leave at noon. Anna said that she had to leave at noon. She had to leave. So now in English, when I'm using this information, I'm using this sentence in the indirect reported speech, automatically what I'm saying is that Anna said that she had to leave at noon. I have to leave, she had to leave because this action, this sentence is coming in the past. If it was the present tense, like Anna di, je dois partir à midi. So what would have been the difference? Anna di, it would have been here Anna di, qu'elle doit partir à midi because with the present tense, only our conjugation of the verb would have changed, like DOIT with L. But since this is in the past, Adi, that is why we are changing the tense of the verb from present to imperfect. Okay. Next is Thomas a proclamé J'aurai la réponse demain. J'aurai la réponse demain. Thomas a proclamé, he proclaimed, he said, I will have the answer tomorrow. I will have the answer tomorrow. So he said, he proclaimed, it is in the past tense. If it was present and this is future simple, this would have stayed future simple. The tense would have stayed the same. Only the conjugation along with the subject pronoun would have changed. So first let's see if it is in the present tense. Thomas proclame, j'aurai la réponse demain. Thomas proclame qu'il aurait, il aura la réponse demain. So this aurait will change to aura with il. But now since this is in the past tense, Thomas a proclamé, so our future simple will change to conditionnel présent. Future simple would change to conditionnel présent. Thomas a proclamé qu'il aurait la réponse demain. Aurait in the conditional present tense. So he said, he proclaimed, I will have the answer tomorrow, that he would have the answer tomorrow. When in the indirect way I am reporting, so what Thomas said that I will have the answer tomorrow has changed to I would have the answer tomorrow. That is why the future sample is changing to the conditional present tense. Then third one, Stephen a dit, j'ai acheté un manteau. Stephen a dit, j'ai acheté un manteau. Now, j'ai acheté is which tense over here? Passé composé. If this first verb, reporting verb, would have been Stephen D, present tense, then this passé composé would not have changed the tense in the indirect speech. It would have only changed the subject pronoun and the conjugation of the verb. Like if it is j'ai acheté, it would have been il a acheté. Subject pronoun changes from je to il. Conjugation of verb avoir changes from a to a, j'ai and il a, and acheté un manteau. But now since it is Stephen a dit, Stephen said, I had bought a coat. So in the indirect way, when we are reporting this, Stephen said that he had bought a coat. I bought a coat, I have bought a coat, he had bought a coat, right? So Stephen a dit, when he said that j'ai acheté un manteau, I bought a coat, in the indirect way when I'm saying, so this is already the past tense, would change to plus que parfait. Passé composé would change to plus que parfait. J'ai acheté, il avait acheté un manteau. So this is how our tenses are changing in the way when we are converting from direct to indirect speech in the past, not in the present. So that is why each of the example what is written over here, I have discussed both in the present tense as well as in the past tense. So the past tense, you do not have to look at this verb, whether this is in the past tense or not. You have to look at the first verb, the, proclaim, agree, whatever is the reporting verb of the sentence. If the reporting verb is in present tense, the conjugation and subject pronoun only have to change, not the tense of the verb. But if the reporting verb is in the past tense, then the tense of the verb also has to change, except in the few cases which we saw. If it is imparfait, that will remain the same. If it is conditional, that will remain the same. If it is subjunctive, that will remain the same. But in any of these tenses, like present tense, passé composé, futur simple, antérieur, passé récent, futur proche, all these need to change in the indirect form of the speech. So like here it was je dois, present tense, change to elle, the way, past tense. imparfait. Here, j'aurais, future simple, changed to il aurait, conditionnel, présent. J'ai acheté, passé composé, changed to il avait acheté, plus que parfait. Then also there is a reference of time. Like over here in these all sentences, there was no reference of time. But if a reference of time is given like hier, aujourd'hui, demain, like here if it is said hier, je devais partir à midi. So hier would change to la veille. Avant-hier changes to avant-veille. Aujourd'hui changes to ce jour-là. Demain changes to le lendemain. Après-demain changes to le surlendemain. Cette semaine changes to cette semaine-là. La semaine dernière, la semaine précédente. L'année dernière, l'année précédente. Le mois dernier, le mois précédent. So over here, all the dernier it is changing to précédent. Then la semaine prochaine, la semaine suivante. L'année prochaine, l'année suivante. Le mois prochain, le mois suivant. Dans 2 jours plus tard. So here in these sentences, there was no reference of time which was given in all the examples that we discussed. But if it is given, then we will change this to the indirect speech using this table. Okay, so what we have discussed till now are the forms of the speech where first form is the direct speech where we are quoting the words of the person, what he or she has said. Then there is indirect speech where we are reporting the words from our point of view. Then it is le discours rapporté libre, which means the speech where we interpret the information of what one has said. So like I said, that is not more commonly used. There are two main forms. One is the direct speech, one is the indirect speech, right? Then we saw how to change the sentences from direct to indirect by changing the subject pronoun, by changing the conjugation of the verb, by changing if any possessive adjective is given. Next, we saw the reported speech in the past tense. So if the reporting verb is in the past tense, what all changes have to be made? To what do the verbs change to in the from the direct speech to the indirect speech? Then the reference of time. So if anyone has any doubt, you can write it in the chat box. Those who are with me on the live chat, you can just put it in the chat box. If there is any doubt in the direct speech, in the indirect speech, in the way the sentences are changed. So if there is any doubt, you can just write it in the comments box. Okay. So as I said in the beginning of the class, that the target was to learn the direct indirect speech. We learned the difference between both the forms of speech. We learned changing from one form to another, the structure of sentences, the verbs, the tenses, and all, how do they change. And we saw then the uh, questions, the examples of how the sentences are changed. So as told earlier, that in the plus courses, in the Unacademy plus courses, in the live classes, all of these topics, what we are doing over here, are done in much more detail, in depth, because the classes are scheduled as per the timetable. Regular classes are there every day, the classes are held. Then there are doubt solving sessions also. There is a lot of study material also for you to take reference to, then exhaustive coverage of all these topics plus much more, like we do the comprehension, the grammar skills, the writing skills and everything, and plus a lot of worksheets and practice exercises for you to understand every concept thoroughly. So if you have not subscribed to the Unacademy Plus courses as of now, you can see my referral code on the screen, which is ANIKALIVE. Use this referral code. Go to the Unacademy Learning app, use the referral code ANIKALIVE, and opt for the subscription plan of your choice according to the time period. If you take the subscription for class 9, you get the access to the live classes for class 10, 11 and 12 for free. So you see, there are so many benefits of subscribing to the plus subscription over here, the plus courses. First of all, you would be able to attend the live classes, which you will be able to attend in a very organized, regular way, along with the doubt solving sessions, along with all the practice material, whatever is needed. Also, there is plus subscription, iconic subscription, from which you can choose from. So you get in the iconic subscription, next you get a personal mentor who can help you to score much better, to understand much better, to give your best, to bring out your best in the exams. Then there is a creative corner where you could attend the classes for Vedic maths, robotics, debating, public speaking, and all of these things. So, again, very creative, the creative corner, very beneficial and highly recommended. Also, there is Unacademy Ascent, that is the All India Championship for class 6 to 12. So you can enroll for the championship also and win scholarships worth rupees 5 lakhs every month. So great, isn't it? Next, like I said, for each of the subject there is a schedule, there is a doubt solving class, downloads for the study material and everything, which you can get access to once you are there in the live class. Yes. And as I said, the batches are ongoing. You can just log on to the Unacademy Learning app, choose the subscription, and get on with your preparation in full swing. So just use the referral code Anika Live over here, what you can see, and use this referral code to get your plus subscription. So thank you all everyone for attending today's session. Hope to see you all in the upcoming sessions as well, and in the plus courses, live classes. So merci beaucoup. Au revoir. À bientôt. Bye everyone. And have a good day.